Good morning and welcome to another episode of Upon Further Review. Ray Halbrook with live stream STL Media here. Hope everybody's having a great Wednesday morning. We've had a lot of great games over the weekend, and I'm going to bring my panel in here. Matt Bates in the middle and Jeff Whitener on my right there, on your right as well. Guys, we're down to the nitty gritty, and it's been a fun season so far, and we're down to the frozen chosen, I guess, if you want to say at this point. But let's go ahead and we'll roll straight into our Week 13 scores. So awesome that we had in the area here 3 of the 4 games. We would have loved to have been out at St. Vincent. St. Vincent did not have a spot for us, otherwise we'd have been out there as well. So we'll start with that one there. St. Vincent 45 and Crystal City 14. And we're just going to do these one at a time since we're down to 4 games here. So I'm going to kick it over to let's kick it over to Jeff.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, I wasn't involved with many of the games as you guys were last week. Just in looking at some of the overall stats and things like of that nature, St. Vincent, Christian Schaff, arguably the best quarterback in the I-55 conference this year for St. Vincent. I've watched this young man the last 4 seasons progress. Great player. We'll see him during basketball season as well. And St. Vincent, too much offensive threats in that spread offense that they run for Crystal City to be able to handle. But what a wonderful season for Crystal City. 8-4 record overall. Dan Fox doing a great job with that program over there. I can't say enough about the job that he and his staff have done to turn things around over at Crystal City.
Well, as I mentioned last week, Caden Raftery is the straw that stirs the drink for that team. And you saw, on the defensive side of the ball with the 13 tackles and the sack, doing what he does to impose his will from the defensive side of the ball. But when you flip the script, go over to the offensive side, 12 rushes, 55 yards. When you're able to hold him in check, that holds that Crystal City Hornet offense in check. And you see that carry on down with Camden Bolton, 4 carries, no yards. The bright spot, Cohen Compton was able to sneak out 7 carries, 93 yards. But as I said last week on the show, that was my thought, that if St. Vincent can hold down Caden Raftery, that's kind of where your stopping point's going to be, because then there's really no other cog in the wheel for Crystal City to really spin around on, and you see St. Vincent just taking care of business with that 45-14 score. But, Raftery, 200 carries on the season, 1,135 yards, so about 5.5 yards a pop. I know we talked about him up and down every week, possible candidate for either a player of the week or an honorable mention. So great job by Mr. Raftery and what he did over there for the Crystal City Hornets.
Good afternoon and welcome to Friday Night Blitz on a Saturday. We are live from Melville High School in St. Louis, Missouri. Today it's home to the Lift for Life Hawks. They will be taking on the Valley Catholic Warriors. Ray Halbrook, Brian Kaplinger, Matt Bates, all of us here.
Valley coming in 10-1 in Class 2. Their only loss, as we covered in the pregame show, was to Class 6 Seckman.
They're a dangerous team. I think, if you're Valley Catholic, you have to understand, yes, they are a run-first team, but they have a number of ways to beat you on the ground.
We show up to play football. Like I tell my kids all the time, it don't matter how big the football game is, whether it's the semifinals, quarterfinals, football is blocking and tackling.
Yeah, they play a lot of big schools, a lot of really good schools as well, so I'm not sure how much that'll really, come into play today. We're going to have to play our best game to have a shot to win this thing.
Standard time, and there is a kickoff powered right through the middle. It's going to be taken at the 20, brought out to the 22. Ryan Fowler breaks through out to the 50, 45-40, 35-20, has a chance to take it to the house. 10, 5, give him 6. Opening kickoff, Ryan Fowler. Give that to him. Takes it at the 15. Call that an 85-yard kickoff return to set the pace.
Fallard. Keep your eye on Vioxx. See what they can do.
Here's a rollout pass. Fallard, he's going to zip it over. That's going to go to Gegg. Gegg's at the 25, 30, 20, 10, 5. Give him 6. 64-yard TD pass.
So, unfortunately there, you're seeing him just kind of slip.
Fallard rolls out. He's going to air it out. He's going to go deep for Gegg. Gegg has another one. 40, 35, 20. He's going to take that to the house. Give him 6 from the 24-yard line. 76-yard TD pass. And it looks like the scoreboard operator still has it at first down. But Fallard all the way across the field. That will be a touchdown pass to Vioxx. So that is Fallard to Vioxx running from your own goal line. It's still going to create a short field for Valley to work with. There's a punt. That's blocked. That's going to go through the end zone, and that will be a safety. And credit that safety to number 1, Alex Vioxx. Island Fallard near us. Vioxx is checked back into the game. Inside handoff to him. He's going to break out to the right side. And that is a fumble. Well, hold on. Initial signals touchdown now. And
Thing right now for Lift for Life, you're now looking at second half, the turbo clock. The clock is going to continuously be, working against you. So you got to try to work fast. You got to try to work something here to get something open.
Catholic rotate, and there's a snap over. That's a live ball. Is that going to be a scoop and a score? Oh. No. They tried it again. Now the ball's picked up. They're going to go scoop and score as the ball was shotgun snap. Alan Pointer finally was able to recover the ball for Lift for Life as Valley Catholic was not ready for the snap. Fallard 22, shotgun snap. Fallard's going to call his own number, sneaks through one, navigates around to the perimeter, to the 15, to the 10, to the 5. Give him 6. Thank you.
Thank you. I've enjoyed every minute of it, just being a part of this team here and highlighting these amazing athletes that we get to see on a week-in, week-out basis.
And that will be the final snap. That will be 26 seconds rolling off the clock. And as we close up shop here, that is the Valley Catholic Warriors moving on with a score 47-14.
Absolutely. Moving on here to the Class 2 state quarterfinals. Valley Catholic manhandling Lift for Life 47-14. Matt, you and I had that call there over at Melville High School, as that was a neutral site. But Matt, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the opening kickoff, Valley returns it for a touchdown, and you're just like, okay, here we go. You're already popping the can open. And that's before their offense even had a chance to get out there. But when you look at the productivity just in that first quarter alone, I mean, they go up 21-0. Grant Fallard, I mean, when you look at his first quarter numbers, he was only 2 of 4 passing, but he was 2 of 4, 2 TDs, 141 yards. And those 141 yards were all to Tyler Gegg, number 4, their wide receiver, who caught 2 passes for 66 and 75 yards, took him to the house. I was watching the one for 75 yards, and Fallard aired that ball out 45 yards in the air before it landed in Gegg's hands. And, I mean, just imposing the will. Alex Vioxx had a great day, modest running, ground and pound for Valley Catholic. But to me, it was Tyler Gegg. I mean, making the most of his limited touches, but then in the third quarter, he had blocked a punt out of the back of the end zone for the safety. And again, when you look at what we do on our show, it's not always just about the guy that has, the biggest numbers. To me, Tyler Gegg, and with what he was able to do for Valley Catholic, really stood out. But on the other side of the ball, what stood out for me for Lift for Life was how you can see, not from just a coaching standpoint, but whenever the coaches do say things we need to clean up in our own backyard, the number of penalties as you progress. I mean, once the new playoff season starts, gentlemen, things like the center quarterback exchange, as you saw that come back to bite Valley in the end. That's how Lift for Life scored, was on a scoop and score. But like the center quarterback exchange, the penalties, all those little things when you're now getting into round 3, round 4, and you're vying for a state championship, you have to play an almost perfect game in every capacity.
Right. Jeff.
Well, gentlemen, it's funny, the names that you mentioned there. You mentioned the Fallards, the Geggs, the Vioxes, and as Ray will tell you, those are generational Valley Catholic names where there are generations of those surnames that have played for that school and continued that winning tradition, state championships, state playoff brackets. And as Ray will tell you too, those are also names that we get to see a lot during the summer baseball season for Post 150 down there in Junie Bosler. Great all-around athletes. And it doesn't surprise me at all that they came out there and took care of business. Valley, not only do they have a great quarterback in Fallard, but their receivers, their secondary, they're all big, tall, athletic. I equate it to Nate Breeze. If you had a team with half a dozen Nate Breezes on it from R7, that's kind of what Valley Catholic's like in the skilled positions. And
Jeff, that's funny you brought that up, because that's what I was thinking during the broadcast. Was like a lot of their wide receivers are around that 6'1", 6'2" frame and build, and really their running back Alex Viox reminded me a lot of Sam Stokes.
Yep, exactly. It's a great combination, and I tell you what, the path is clear in my opinion for Valley to get to that state championship game. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Sure. Just to add to that there, Jeff. I mean, just like you said, we consistently see the Geggs, the Fallards, all those different names down there. I mean, the names probably will never ever leave that area because the rich traditions and families that are small families. It's not a big school there, but I mean, you consistently have families like that continuously just kind of pump out kids every 2, 3, 4 years, and before you know it, you've got a basketball team, you got a football team, you got a baseball team. We see them a lot in baseball, during American Legion, but the level of play is very high up there in every sport that they try to put out there on the field or on the court. So it's just a rich tradition, and they just continuously bring high level talent to the table here. Good evening and welcome to Friday Night Blitz on live stream, STL. We are live from Pacific High School in Pacific, Missouri, home to the Pacific Indians. Our matchup tonight is between the Hillsboro Hawks and the Pacific Indians, the Class 5 quarterfinals. And Ray Halbrook, along with Mr. Brian Kaplinger, Mr. Scott Latta.
Coming into this game, Scott, Hillsboro is definitely the favorite team. I mean, they've had a great season, 10-1. They're coming off probably one of the biggest, I think, comebacks of their season last week against Festus, being down 21-0 at the beginning, and then coming back and just finding a way to win the game, maybe is the best way to say that.
We've obviously, starting on defense, we've got to try to do a good job of slowing down their guys. They've got some great skilled players. They do a great job of putting them in positions to make plays. So, we're going to have to be dialed in, and when the opportunity's there, we're going to have to make a play.
Well, we know they got a really good running game, and they can throw it around as well. They love to run counter and speed option. Their quarterback's a big kid, so they do a good job with their 2 running backs that they use quite a bit in their run game, and their quarterback's a big kid that they'll run with and throw with, so we got to contain him and be smart in our pass coverage.
I think there's a Brady Brown, and handoff Brown, and he's got space to run, cuts it back down the left side, right side, touchdown. Took it right down the middle and cut it down to the right sideline for 6 points. Trip wide receivers to the bottom, single to the top, also in shotgun formation, and they will throw it, and that is picked off. And number 3 will take it to the end zone. Just like that, A.J. Huzzle takes a big bite out of that pass, anticipated it great, took it right to the end zone. 1st and 10, about the 10-11 yard line here. Brown to Brown. Brown with a head of steam just glides into the end zone. So right there, Payton Brown puts another 6 on the board. 11-yard touchdown run with 11 seconds to go here in the first. And off number 49. Got the corner. He's got a burst of speed and dives towards the end zone. Touchdown! And just like that, Pacific strikes back.
Because it's got to go in the end zone.
Stack, roll out. And he's got a receiver. Touchdown!
So if you're Pacific, you've got a momentum. You're excited. You get the ball coming out to start the second half here. And so you're going to want to continue to do the same thing. If you're Hillsboro, you're in the locker room going, wait a minute, we did this last week to another team. So what do we have to do to stop this run that Pacific's on? This game is far from over.
Short kickoff. Hits at the 21, off the knee. And it's loose on the turf. And I believe the Hawks have fallen on it inside the 15. Wow.
But hey, let's see some of that just fight and passion.
Pitch to Brown, and Brown takes it around the right side into the end zone. Just like that. 6 quick points. 11:18 to go here in the third. And then Fowler right up the middle. Hard running. Waiting for the signal. And one says short, one says touchdown. Touchdown is the call. Shotgun snap. Quarterback keeper Stack off the left side. He's going to take it all the way to the end zone. He found a seam right there, and no one picked him up. He went untouched into pay dirt. As the faithful get into this. Ball taken back at the 13, straight up the middle, full head of steam. He's got a seam, and he's going to go all the way. And I believe that is Brown, and wow. An 87-yard kick return, and I believe that was Payton Brown. Quarter. Pacific got it back to a 28-28 tie, and now Hillsboro trying to once again work a little magic is right down the middle. Brown. He's going to go all the way again. Touchdown straight down the middle. Look back this time. I see no flags, Brian.
I'm with you. That was one of the first things. Once he busted through that last line of defense, I looked back to go, wait a minute. But again, just kind of picking up. He said, I got the first one. It was called back. I'm not getting this one called back.
This one I have unofficially as 62 yards. And so Mr. Brown definitely getting his steps in tonight. He is set up down to the bottom. And instead they launch it to Aviles for a touchdown. He sold like he was going to the corner, cut it inside. Off the Brown. Brown up the middle. He's got a first down. He's going to just jog into the end zone. Touchdown, and that will seal the deal. Big jaunt up the middle for Brown. Final play of the game. 1st and 10. Stack throws it, and this one is intercepted if he stayed in bounds. And they do say it is intercepted and a touchback with 1 second on the clock. So there's your final. 48-35. The Hillsboro Hawks victorious over the Pacific Indians. This has been a presentation of Friday Night Blitz on Livestream STL for Misha TV.
Hey, we're catching up here with Coach Bill Sucharski from the Hillsboro Hawks. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Awesome. Big 48-35 win over Pacific this past weekend. Good to get to finally catch up with you guys and see you guys in action this week on Livestream STL. Give us your thoughts. You've had a week 2 weeks ago where you had to come from behind to beat Festus. You kind of got in a situation where you got up early on Pacific and then kind of let a couple of touchdowns go. At one point, the game was 28-all, but then you guys pull it out in the end. So I want to hear your thoughts on the entire game.
Well, obviously, our big focus all week was to get off to a strong, fast start, which we were fortunate to do. We knew, even when we got up early, that the game wasn't over. Studying film on Pacific, they're a team that had lost some games early on. They lost a game by 1 point to Borgia, who played last weekend in a quarterfinal game. They lost by 3 to Francis Howell. I think Francis Howell Central earlier in the year. So They lost another game by 7. So they had some games where one play here or there they could have won, and some people looked at their record and thought that they might not be that good of a football team, but on film that was not the case. That's a very easily could have been a 10-2, 11-1 football team that we played on Friday night. When you look at some of their scores and how close they were, and then the other people that they had played and beaten. So offensively, we knew we were going to get a really good team. I think they had over 5,000 yards of total offense going into the game. So you look at those stats just to gauge an idea of what a team's capable of. So we knew how good they were offensively and that they were going to score some points. And credit our kids for making stops when we needed to make those stops. But yeah, you get up early. You want to finish that out. We made some mistakes, fumbled the football on an exchange and threw the pick right before half. That's on me. Probably shouldn't have called the screenplay there, but I credit their kid for making a big play. They got 2 really tall DNs, about 6'4", 6'5", and kid got his hand up and tipped the ball and made a pretty athletic play for a big kid. So, I just told our kids at half, I said, hey, the good news is we got the lead. It's not what we wanted. We were up 21-7, but credit our kids for coming right back there in the start the second half with a big recovery on the kickoff. And, that is something we practice. So, Nick's got a pretty strong leg, but there's times we have him put it as high as he can up in the air and kind of put pressure on a kid to field the ball. And, we've probably gotten 6 or 7 of those balls this year at different times throughout the year. So it's something that Nick does a good job of, and our kids went down and made a play and gave us a short field and kind of gave us the momentum back there to start the half.
Excellent. Brown and Brown, we see the Brown brothers, just absolutely dominate weeks. 1 week it's Preston, 1 week it's Payton. This week it was particularly Payton, and 2 special kids there. There's also just a slew of other guys there. One even being your son there, but special group of kids, and I'm leading this into something pretty big here. It's been 32 years since you guys have been where you're at right now, and nobody in the Jefferson County Conference has ever won a state championship. We've had Herculaneums made it there twice, but what would it mean to win this week, but also just be in a group of folks that there's just not very many coming out of the county here. What would that mean to you guys?
Obviously, you want to kind of carry the torch for the county there. I read something earlier this year when there was a couple teams got beat in the area, and someone said, maybe Jefferson County football is not as good as it has been in the past, and I kind of laughed at that. Festus obviously it comes. We have a lot of battles with those guys, and their losses this year were to us twice. They lost to Valley and Jackson, and Valley's still alive, playing, competing for a Class 2 title, and Jackson was in the hunt last week and had a lead in the third quarter, I believe, on a CBC team. So their losses are to some really good football teams, and we went down and played Cape Central, and it was a 35-28 ball game, and they made some plays to get back in it late in the game, and some people, I heard chatter that Hillsboro, we didn't think it'd be that close. I'm like, hey, Cape's a good team, and Cape's sitting there. They just beat Eureka, and they're sitting there in the semis, and I told people we play Cardinal Ritter, and they've got talent at every spot. But right. The best running back we played is the Boyd kid from Cape Central, and he's a sophomore down there. And right. Even after we played Ritter and those guys, even our staff's like, that Boyd kid, he's a load and he's a handful, and we firmly believe that that score did not surprise me this weekend. I actually texted Coach Gibbs, wished him luck beforehand. He's a great guy, and I really thought they would win that football game, knowing what if they lean on those guys between him and the other running back they have, getting those guys the ball, and they do a good job, and they've got kids that can make plays, and they were able to get a win. So happy for those guys, and other people in our area, Park Hill Central, and what they had some injuries, I know, but they've played some good football, and they're still playing. So our area, between all those schools that. From Jefferson County down south, there's some pretty good football teams, and just happy that we still got a lot of those guys still playing.
Absolutely. let's talk a little bit about Lutheran North. Big game here, and they're a team that you see all the time making deep runs with in their particular classes from time to time. Always in the Final Four, always maybe making these deep runs. What do you know about these guys, and what are you planning on doing to pull out the win with?
Well, they've got a really exceptional quarterback. I think the Hollis kid, I think that's his last name. He's a really good runner, really good thrower. They've got some weapons on the outside. They get the ball too. They're pretty quick. So we have to contain him. You look at last week's game. I think he accounted for 7 touchdowns and 2 passing, maybe 5 rushing, and they do a lot to put the ball in his hands, and whether it be on quarterback sweeps or different ISO game, quarterback ISO run stuff. It's a matter of, containing him, understanding where their biggest receiver threats are, and our kids communicating on defense and being aware of it. They're really, like I said, they're really talented on offense, and you'd like to think as a coach that you could shut everybody out. And I told our kids, hey, I said they're going to get some yards, they're going to get some points. I said they're too talented of a football team not to. So we have to be able to make stops when there's stops to be made. And I go back and I got the Blair Oaks film when they beat Blair Oaks, who's obviously an outstanding program in the state of Missouri, and they beat those guys 38-30. And just watching it, Blair Oaks, I think if you ask their coaching staff, will probably tell you that they had times where they had those guys off the field, but just failed to make a play or missed a tackle. I know one, it's like a 4th and 9 play, and they actually blitz right into it, and they actually hit the quarterback in the backfield, but their guy, when he hits him, goes down to the ground, and the quarterback spins out and then scrambles for first down, and they extends a drive, and they go in and score. And so that's a play where, the call was there to put the kid in the right position to make a play, but their quarterback made a play, broke a tackle and made a play. So those are the types of plays you have to make in games like this when they're there to be made, and you can't miss those tackles. And it's something we reiterate to our kids, when you play kids that are that talented with the ball in their hand, that, it doesn't have to be a devastating hit. It just needs to be a tackle. And so you got to come in, you got to, settle your hips down and just keep the guy in front of you, and then let the rest of the team kind of rally to it. It doesn't need to be this big time solo, collision type hit. And so that's a big thing. It's just, it's gang tackle, rally, run, and understand defensively where they're at, what they like to do out of the formations that they run. They do run a ton of different formations, but they do have a core principle of what they do out of just various looks. And so it's knowing those core things, what they like to do and who they like to get the ball to is the key on defense and communicating. And, offensively, we got to play a physical, brand of football. It's, our opportunity when we get under center, we run the option a lot when we're under center, and, that can work to our advantage at times and makes people match up to us. At the end of the game last week, we got under center, put it in Payton's hand, and said, okay, stop this, kind of challenge those guys to stop Payton on that last drive to kind of seal the deal. And, credit our offensive line for blocking for him and Payton running hard. And we were able to, end the game with a long run there. So it's kind of the same thing. We talk as a staff, and I listened to a coach talk one time. We talked about being balanced on offense. And when a lot of people hear that term balance on offense, they think, well, it means you got to throw and run for the same amount. And that coach's philosophy is balance means if you have to run the ball to win a game, then you need to run the ball. If you have to throw the ball to win a game, then you need to be able to throw the ball. And so we've worked a lot on that. And there's times where, because we scored at times so fast on Friday with a kick return for a touchdown, we have a pick six for a touchdown. Our defense was on the field a lot, and that stresses your defense just because of the fatigue factor of playing defense. So that second half, talking to Coach Anderson, I said, hey, we get the ball, we need to kind of eat some clock and just kind of get our defensive guys some rest and get them off the field. And I think Preston breaks off a 60-yard run at one point or this or that. So, we weren't able to burn it as quick as you like. You're never going to be upset when a kid scores a touchdown.
Right.
But when you need to, try to eat that clock to keep your defense off the field, you definitely want to do that. So that's got to be a game plan where we got to sustain drives and then can't give up the big play this week. We got to make them sustain drives, and if they're gonna score, they're gonna have to earn it.
There you go. Details is what I'm really coming to me is that even the small details are going to be so very important this week for both teams. So we appreciate the time and good luck to you this Saturday, and we'll be on the coverage over there for you. Appreciate having us out, and good luck to you again.
Thank you very much. So thanks for the coverage.
Appreciate that. That's Coach Bill Sucharski from the Hillsboro Hawks. Let's move on to our next game here. Hillsboro and Pacific. Hillsboro wins 48-35. The live stream STL Friday Night Blitz game of the week. And Jeff, I'm going to hear your thoughts on it first.
Well, my thoughts were it was interesting. You guys were finally able to get that game underway there with the power outages there at Pacific at the high school football stadium. And kudos to you, Ray, and your production skills of being able to get your backup systems going and get that thing on the air. Really, my biggest takeaway from that game was or two things. I thought Pacific played at their top level as great as they could play, given their overall record this year, and the fact that they came in there in that game, 7-5 overall. They beat a very good state-ranked Sullivan team to reach that quarterfinal, and kudos to Pacific at home for doing everything they could to stop Hillsboro. That was quite a shootout, and on the other side of the ball, it's Matt's talked about it all year, that PB, what do you say, Matt, the PB sandwich?
The PB sandwich, oh yes.
Right. Payton Brown proving that he's not ready to go home and stuff himself full of Thanksgiving turkey just yet.
Jeff, look at this game. Hillsboro led 21-0. They go into the third quarter, and now it's 28-28. And Pacific, to their credit as well, they rolled up 400 total yards of offense against this tough Hillsboro team. So, as we say, week in, week out, that, we can only do what we can do when we look at the numbers and see what we see on paper. And you're right. The 4-5 record, let's face it, it's kind of a pedestrian record. But once the postseason starts, all bets are off because everybody's 0-0. And you don't get to your week 3, week 4 games for like those teams that had the bye week, like Hillsboro is like their, second or third game. And, for Pacific, it's their third or fourth. So you don't get to play those next week games by just playing pedestrian football. And, as I was talking with Brian Kaplinger on Saturday, I said, you know what, if you come out of a game with a 2-0 win and all you did is win with a safety, you know what, you move on and the other team goes home. It's that easy. And, some really good teams are getting beaten. You look at what happened with the debacle whenever, Jackson came up, stuffed Seckman right in the face, and then CBC comes down and just plants one right on Jackson and moves on. So in any given day, you put the pads on, you either move on or go home.
Yeah, I agree with you on that there, Matt. Going back to this game here real quick, to Pacific's credit, they were playing some really good ball late. And I got a chance to talk with the AD and the football coach over there before the game, and they just kept saying, hey, we just kind of felt like we still haven't played our best games yet. And, even the games that they lost were really close losses to some really good teams. So you've got that in the bag for them for that particular part. But, you are dealing with Hillsboro. And, you talk about the PB sandwich, but you talk about Chase Sucharski, his second week in a row with an interception, and key interception this particular week, put them up 21-0 in the first quarter. Second quarter, they decided, I think they kind of thought that, well, this is just going to be kind of a rollover game. And second quarter, they took the foot off the gas for just a quick second, and all of a sudden 14 points were scored by Pacific in the second quarter, 28 all at, by the middle of the third quarter. But, Coach Sucharski talks about a lot of, adjustments and just, still being patient, still letting the game come to you throughout the game. But, he knew that if they just kind of stuck to their plan, that they were going to be able to come out of there victorious, and that, end of that third quarter, fourth quarter, It was just a little too much for the Pacific Indians, and Hillsboro rolls away with the win to go into the semifinals.
Ray, Jeff, real quick before we move on, I mean, how much farther can Hillsboro go with having Preston Brown going 1 for 4 on a day of passing? Yes, the one pass, or he had the one completion went for a touchdown, but he also threw an INT as well. Before you start relying a little too much or maybe way too much on Payton Brown, yeah, he had 4 rushing touchdowns, returned the kickoff, had 5, TDs on the day. But I was just going to throw that out there because when I saw the passing at only 1 for 4, with the 1 TD and the interception, that seems to me that they were just using the passing game just to break up the monotony of the running game. Was that about right, Ray? Because when I watched that game, it reminded me a lot of that Valley Catholic game, to where after they were up 21-0, I agree with you. I think they kind of went into coast mode, kind of like what Valley did, except the game wasn't as tight as what a good team like Pacific could do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I would say same. They rely on the run game a lot, like Valley Catholic. You're right. It was kind of like, hey, stop us. Kind of the same situation over there at Valley, but a little closer. Some big boy football. I'm going to tell you that's the thing that I was just impressed with. And I was talking to Payton Brown, our Player of the Week. I think probably have already given that away, unfortunately. But Payton Brown talked about just, man, how in the world do you guys just get pounded every week, and you just jump right back up, and he's just like, it's weight room, and that's just our culture, So it's a ground and pound group. They're used to it. They're used to grinding, and they just wear you out. And that's kind of what they did with Pacific for that, especially that third and fourth quarter.
But excellent foreshadowing, Matt, into what we're going to talk about our preview for next week on that. So hold that thought there.
You got it.
There you go. It is time now for our, upon further review, Player of the Week. And we have none other than Payton Brown from the Hillsboro Hawks. Payton, my friend, how are you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Awesome. Hey, we finally got a chance to see the Hillsboro Hawks in action this week, and big win for you guys, 48-35 over Pacific, and big showing for you there. 20 rushes, 247 yards on a pretty long night for all you guys, but 5 touchdowns as well. And take us through the game and your thoughts on the game there, boss.
It was a pretty solid game. I think early on we jumped out to a 21-0 lead, and from there I think our team kind of thought they were just going to roll over. I feel like we kind of let off the gas a little bit where we could have pushed the pedal to the metal even more, and ramped up the score a little bit better. I think they started coming back, and that knocked a little realization in our heads that, okay, this is going to be a game we got to play. Coming out in the second half, we knew that. We played hard. I think we made some good adjustments and matched up fairly well at the end there.
Excellent.
Made some crucial mistakes.
Yeah.
But fought back.
Yeah. I was going to talk to you a little bit about that second quarter there. You guys are up 21-0. They reel off 14 quick points. They got a touchdown at the last minute of the second quarter. You go into the locker room thinking, okay, we were just up 21-0. You kind of went through that last week with Festus as well. Had to do the come from behind thing. I'm sure the adjustments that were talked about there by Coach Sucharski was huge, and you want to have it at halftime, not in the third quarter or the fourth quarter. But what are something that that Coach Sucharski maybe mentioned in that halftime?
I think the main thing that we kind of talked about was doing our assignment. I feel like we got too carried away in thinking and trying to guess what they were going to do rather than do our job on defense-wise. And we kind of let them bounce it outside, or we didn't pinch enough on the inside, and they squeaked it out, or our man coverage wasn't sound like it should have been, and they got deep or whatever on us.
you make those adjustments, and then so kind of smooth sailing. You guys had a run back, and plenty of offense on your end there. A couple 3 touchdowns there in the second half, and you guys cruised to that 48-35 win. Let's talk about something just a little bit on the personal level with you. A couple 3 weeks ago, I guess it was, you got an offer from SIU, and
Yeah, I did.
yeah. What was that like? I mean, was that pretty cool or what?
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. I mean, I liked that coach. He's a good guy. Hearing from him, it was a little later than I anticipated, and I was kind of already planning on going to SEMO that weekend, so it kind of didn't really change much. But it was still it. I feel like it's always good to get that, and you can kind of get more out there to other coaches. They might see that and be like, okay, maybe we can check this kid out.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Let's talk about the big game here, the state semifinals here. A win takes you to the Show Me Bowl. You've got Lutheran North, the Crusaders, on the docket. What have you guys found out about these guys so far, and maybe what's the game plan to try to pull out that win?
Right now, we know we got to take care of the quarterback and two of the receivers, and just play our game. Really, we match up well. I think we're able to run offense against them well, and if we do our assignment on defense and run our coverage how we're supposed to do it and do what we need to up front, I think we'll give them a hard time and be able to bring home the W.
There you go. There you go. Well, good luck to you. Congrats on being Player of the Week this week. And we get to see if Saturday we'll be out there covering the game. So looking forward to it.
Sounds good. Thank you.
That's Payton Brown from the Hillsboro Hawks. Class 5 state quarterfinals there between Cape Central and Eureka. Cape Central ekes one out there 32-29. And, just two great teams that were evenly matched. I even saw that from the get-go. Coach Sucharski talks a little bit about their experience with Cape Central as well. They've said they're no slouch. They're a really good team. And, you play quality teams from here on out. But I want to get you guys' thoughts on this particular game here. Jeff.
Well, I tell you what, my first thought was exactly what you said in the preview or the highlight package that you put out on that game. That was some big boy football, and the big boy football in the trenches. In my opinion, there are at least two offensive linemen on Cape Central and two offensive linemen on Eureka that are going to be playing college ball, at least D2 level, if not higher. There was a lot of beef being swung out there, guys, and to have that high of a score in that game, it showed me that both teams were able to do a lot of things well as far as executing their game plan. Just a great game overall, and to think back, like you said, Coach Sucharski said that Hillsboro went down to Cape Central and beat them early in the season, but Cape Central's been coming on strong ever since. But Matt, those two teams, you definitely wouldn't want to feed them for Thanksgiving, would you?
There'll be more than one turkey for sure per player. I can guarantee you that. But you know what? I mean, Eureka right off the bat had that INT, put up the touchdown right there on that first series, and you kind of had that moment of, okay, here we go. But I agree, back to the point about Hillsboro and Cape Central playing. I think we had talked about that back on our previous UFR show, where I think not only me, but I think maybe Jeff as well said this could be like the first big test for Hillsboro to have maybe a toe stubbing on their season. And they went down there, took care of business. But for me, I mean, the bright spot was Trevor Kodak. I know we've talked about Hobelman and what he does, but that's funny when you look at how successful Hillsboro is. And again, with that 1 for 4 passing, you look at Hobelman, 17 of 26 for 212, 3 TDs and a pick. But Trevor Kodak, I think, what a way to step up and finish off a season that, for the first, let's just be realistic, for the first half of the season, I don't think we called his name a whole lot, but the last 5 weeks at least here, he's kind of fallen in that Caden Raftery kind of either, hey, could he be an honorable mention? Could he be a player of the week? And, You look at the 24 carries, 129 yards, 2 receptions, 26 yards, a TD on both sides of rushing and receiving. So I mean, what a way to end a season. And you know what? And he didn't go out without a fight either. I mean, he stuck his nose in there every chance he got. And what a great job by Trey Haneke on the defensive side with 15 combined tackles. Holy mackerel.
It's now time for our honorable mentions segment here, and our honorable mentions this week, we'll take a look at them individually. From Valley Catholic, Tyler Gegg, you talked about the 2 receptions. He only had 141 yards in those 2 receptions and 2 touchdowns. So, Valley didn't have to do a whole lot of passing, and when they did, they went big or go home, and cashed in big time there. From Eureka, Casey Holman, quarterback, 17 to 26. 212 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then from Crystal City, Caden Raftery, 13 tackles on the season to end his season. But you take a look at both of these bottom honorable mentions. Both teams are going home, but felt they put everything they could out there on the field for both Holman and Raftery. But unfortunately came up on the short end. But some great turnouts this season for a lot of the area here, and you're starting to see some really great athletes in the area here, guys.
Yeah, I mean, you look at specifically. I mean, start with Crystal City, as we've said week in and week out with what Coach Fox has done over there. That this was a program just a couple years ago that, they were checking the pulse to see if they were going to pull the plug on this or not. Now you turn around, they've got, like 3-4 home playoff games, and the place is packed over there night in and night out. And so I was glad to be able to do a game or two for Crystal City over there at their place because, again, as I say, whether you're class 1 or class 6, I mean, we cover any and all, and to have a team like that within your immediate kind of coverage area, if you will, it's just really nice to have a program like that we can spotlight just as much as we can a Hillsborough or even a Seckman school. So great job by Coach Fox over there. Hats off.
Yeah, Caden Raftery, the senior, he finishes his career at Crystal City. Kudos to him for capping off a wonderful senior season. I don't know what his future plans are, but great job there, great athlete. Hobelman returns for Eureka. And that's certainly a bright spot for them. They've got some nice places. Obviously, Trevor Kodak, we talked about them. Also, he was just a sophomore this year. And Matt, you mentioned we didn't talk to him about him earlier in the season. He was thrown into the fire because of injuries to their backfield. So I don't think he started the first 4 or 5 games of the year for them, but he came on like a house of fire. He'll be back. So Eureka, looking good, looking fortunate for the future. They've got most of their interior line will be back as well. Valley Catholic, I'm not sure what the status of Tyler Gegg is. I'm not sure what year he is, guys. Maybe you can help me with that.
I don't know either.
I'll have to retrack down my roster once again, but I either junior or senior, I do know that, but I don't think he broke out much of a sweat because, the ball was already, as I said, on that second pass, 45 yards in the air. All he had to do was run the other 30 yards and was basically untouched. But again, even though it seemed like a modest day at the office, he made the most of his opportunities. And again, as you progress through this beautiful thing we call the playoff system here, Live for Life's punting from, their own end zone. He sneaks through, he blocks a punt, generates a safety. So, whether it's Live for Life's, School of the Blind, or whether it's CBC, you make the plays when you're given and afforded the chance to do so. And it's something like that where, again, as I said, if you win 2-0, you look at those 2 points he generated on that safety. That could be the thing that either makes, breaks, or wins the ball game for you. And so being able to go out there and play and finish on any facet of the ball that you're put on is huge for your program.
Hey, Ray Halbrook here with Upon Further Review. We have a special going on right now. It's a special giveaway that we're going to do right now. If you can like, share, and follow Livestream STL right now, and then post in the comments on Facebook, if you're watching on Facebook, post in the comments your favorite appetizer from Texas Roadhouse, and we're going to give you not one, not two, but 3 free appetizer coupons, and we'll mail those to you. So do that right now.
Ruther Ford is the place to shop for your next vehicle. We have a huge selection of new and pre-owned vehicles to choose from, and they're all priced to sell. Not in the market for a new car? We have a great service staff that can keep your car in top shape. Also, be sure to check out our parts department for your next car project. Once again, we're Ruther Ford off I-55, the Herculean Auto Mall.
Ruther.com.
The Breeze Dental Care Team consists of dedicated individuals who are caring, kind, and friendly. Our staff is here to ensure a pleasant experience during your visit to our office. Our team includes experienced and energetic people whose goal it is to communicate well with our patients and provide the best care possible. Providing preventative, restorative, and cosmetic care. Schedule a visit by calling 636-937-3030 or find us on the web at breezedentalcare.com.
The House Bar and Grill at your Festus Pasta House is your place to watch all local high school sports live. That's right, I said live. Come in and enjoy all local high school sports brought to you live on our 5 big screen TVs from Livestream STL. Also enjoy our happy hour menu, which includes half-price pizzas, discounted appetizers, and drink specials. We are the best place to gather for your local high school sports brought to you by Livestream STL at your Festus Pasta House on Highway A, where it's always a great time.
Hey, y'all, it's Jeff from Case and Bucks. Thanks for watching the games today. We appreciate all your business all year long. Don't forget, we've got awesome wings, we got amazing burgers, we got salads like you wouldn't believe. Come check us out. We have barbecue on Thursdays, we have Southern Nights on Wednesdays, we've got bingo on Tuesdays. We can't wait to see you all. Thanks a bunch, and we look forward to having a great summer with y'all.
It is now time to take a look at Week 14 schedule. Week 14, can you believe it, guys? Here,
good.
And we're just going to overview. I've got all 6 classes here, and you can pick and choose through these particular ones. But we're obviously going to be spending a lot of time on our live stream STL game of the week on Saturday between Lutheran North and Hillsboro for the Class 4 semifinals. But here we go. The Class 1 semifinals is going to be St. Vincent and Marionville. Class 2 semifinals, Fair Grove and Valley Catholic. Class 3 semifinals, Park Hill Central and Blair Oaks. Class 4 semifinals, Lutheran North and Hillsboro. Class 5 semifinals, Cape Central and Cardinal Ritter. That should be an interesting one. And Class 6 semifinals, DeSmet at CBC. We're going to start with Matt and get your take on any of these that you want to choose.
Well, I say we just, go up, start at Class 1 and we'll work our way down and we'll get to the end here at some point. That Class 1, that St. Vincent-Marionville game, did a little dive into Marionville. 9-0 during the regular season, 12-0 obviously now. During the regular season, gentlemen, they only gave up 36 points total in the regular season.
Woo. Wow.
And the most that anybody scored against them was 8.
Wow.
The playoffs, let's just fast forward to the 3 games they've played. They beat Miller 49-0. They beat Kabul 48-6. They beat Portageville 17-14. 104-20 is what the total score has been in their 3 playoff games. So I suffice to say, St. Vincent is more than going to have their work cut out in any capacity to stop this Marionville game. What's your thoughts on that one, Jeff, before we move on?
Well, yeah, Marionville, they're the number 1 ranked team in Class 1 in the state, and facing St. Vincent ranked number 7. And as you said, 4.7 points per game giving up on defense. That's just unreal. And really, the game they played last week, that they had a game-winning field goal. Their special teams are pretty darn good there at Marionville. And that 17-14, Portageville, an excellent team, and Portageville was more than capable of winning the state championship. I almost feel like that game last week was for the Class 1 state championship. No, and that's not taking away anything from St. Vincent and how good they are and how great their season has been. And as you know, and I talked about Christian Schaff, their quarterback, who I'm super high on. But Marionville, they're in a whole other stratosphere this year, in my opinion.
Hey, Ray, Jeff, whenever I was putting the numbers down on paper on this and was kind of dissecting this was really reminding me of when I was plotting down the stats for that Sackman-Jackson game, and you're seeing Sackman giving up only 6.5 points all year, this, that. Everybody's, they're running up and down, and Jackson at halftime's got them up 48-0. And as I was finishing this off, I was like, you know what if St. Vincent just lays one on Marionville, and everybody that is not expecting this except maybe us, that but again, on paper, when you're only giving up about 6.5, less than 8 points a game, but holy shnikes, that jumps out.
So are you trying to say you're going to call that game there, Matt? Are you calling that game for St. Vincent?
On paper, give the edge to Marionville.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Proceed there, Matthew.
Well, Class 2, I've just got exclamation points next to this doozy. You got 11-1 Fairgrove at 11-1 Valley. This is a Fairgrove team that's averaging, again, 56 points of offense a game and only giving up about 12. The winner of this game will face either Lamar or Bowling Green, but I think I think this game is one that you just kind of highlight and just take a look at what the final score of this is going to be, because as we move on, we'll be talking about some other games that were played, but I think if Valley gets into a shootout with Fairgrove, I don't think this is a team that is really made for that, because I think Valley would like to dictate their own pace of play and aren't ones to really like to, like putting baby in a corner. They don't like to be told what to do.
Gotcha.
Well, I'll tell you, Matt, I look at this game, and when I look at the overall talent level of both teams, and don't get me wrong, Fairgrove's had an incredible season. I just feel like, and I might be biased because it's this tied to the state, but I just see Valley Catholic as having too many weapons. The only way I think Fairgrove can really make an impact in this game, they've got to figure out a way to put pressure on Fallard back there. And I don't know, if that's something they're able to do. But like you said, if you get Valley Catholic out of their comfort zone, and see, they've only been really tested in that first game of the season, that loss against Hillsboro. Sometimes it's hard for these teams that only have one or two losses, and they've led most of the games. Do they have that resiliency that they can fight back and bounce back? I'm going to say yes, because it's a Judd Nager coach team, and I've seen them come back before. They did it last year against Seckman. So I'm going to take Valley Catholic in this one, and being at home down there in St. Genevieve, I think that's going to make a big difference too.
Ray, real quick, let me ask you this, because we were there at that Valley game on Saturday. If Valley takes their foot off the gas like they did that second half against that Lift for Life team that was nothing but penalties and trying to adapt, I think, to that game, when you saw the level of play that Valley put together that second half, they cannot do that against Fairgrove and look to be successful. Because,
Right.
once again, that was how Live for Life scored, was on the snap that went straight over the quarterback's head, not being on the same page with that.
Right.
And when you look at the number of times that Valley had to punt, I'm tearing up talking about all these stats and numbers. I apologize. But I think if Valley plays that second half against Fairgrove like they did for Live for Life, I think you're looking at a completely different ballgame.
Yeah, there's a fine line of coaches being gentlemen, and I think I think that's what that came down to. Could they have probably stuck 80 points on Live for Life? Probably. And I think second half is like, okay, listen, we're going to run the ball as much as we can. We're not planning on breaking out, kicking out to the sideline and taking it for 6. We want to run a little bit more of the clock. Show a little bit of just a little bit of respect to the other team, because hey, this is, even though this is a quarterfinals game, you're still men on the field, and I think Judd Nager's one of those guys that doesn't really care to stick 100 on anybody. He's just not one of those guys. So I think there's a little bit of that to it, but at the same time, you go into this week and I think you try to score as many points as you possibly can, and you don't worry about that particular part, because you're about to get to the men meeting the boys, coming from the boys into the men's group now, and it's go time. You're one game away from a state championship, going to Mizzou, and being the best again. So I think that they won't have any problems with that particular situation. Let's move over here. Well, it's time to talk about that Class 4 state quarterfinals between
Park Hills and Blair Oaks, Class 3.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Where did it go? What did it? There it is. I'm sorry. I had it wrong.
Ray's just twisting and flipping back there.
The wrong knob is happening over here, guys. So here you go. Okay, so Class 3 semifinals. Park Hills Central and Blair Oaks. How about that there, Jeff?
Guys, I have really nothing on this game. I did not really preview this one, so I'm going to swing it to you. Park Hill Central's had a great season, but Blair Oaks, the last 5-6 years, has been a perennial powerhouse over in that middle part of the state. So I don't know, Matt, you think Park Hill Central has enough to pull this one off?
Well, this is how we're going to segue into the Class 4 game, is because Blair Oaks' only loss this year was to Lutheran North, 38-30. And when we look at the preview for next week here, or this coming up week for Lutheran North and Hillsboro, to have a Blair Oaks team at Class 3, and they only lost to this new Lutheran North team 38-30, who Lutheran North last week, what was the combined point total in their game? 131 points.
Yeah.
It was 70-61.
Right.
And you only lost 38-30. I think you can hang your hat on that and hold your head high. So Joe Bryant and the people down there at Central, they're going to have their work cut out, and they're going to have a set of full hands down there with Blair Oaks. And so that will tie in now to our Class 4 game between Lutheran North and Hillsboro. And I got to say, gentlemen, I think if this turns into a shootout, if you're on the Hillsboro side of things, you don't want that to happen. I think you need to keep this a little closer, because when you see a team that can put 71 points up, now granted they also gave up 61 as well too, but 131 points in one ball game, Jeff. I mean, good Lord.
Right.
Well, yeah, and Matt, they gave up that Hannibal team was stacked. Aeneas Williams is probably the premier player in the state up there for the Pirates. And but having said that, yeah, definitely take the over on this game coming up. This has all the makings. It could be a shootout, and especially if Lutheran North jumps out ahead early and Hillsboro's forced to open up that playbook a little bit. I can see this being another very high-scoring game. I think that works against Hillsboro, as you said. They would like to impose their will as far as the ground game, but man, so many different weapons, Matt, for the Crusaders. And if you want, I'll talk about that here in a second. But Payton Brown, the boys are going to have to lace them up tight.
Again, I think because that's where, when I saw last week with the 1-for-4 passing, yes, the 1 TD and also had an interception. But if this turns into a shootout, I don't know. I don't think I've seen gunslinger numbers from Preston to really say, hey, to your point, like if it's a 28-0 deficit, are we going to just keep going back with Payton, hoping that he can reel off 4 touchdowns when that being forced to pass is what Hillsboro, might have to do? Can the productivity be there?
And with Chase Sucharski as your number one receiver, you know that the Crusaders are going to focus on him. So if they're forced to pass, I think you're going to see swing passes out of the backfield to Payton. I think they're going to try to get him out there open in space and get him one-on-one, because I think it's going to be hard. I think Sucharski, Lutheran North has the athletes that will cover and double team Sucharski, and it's going to be really hard to get the ball to him on offense.
Here's my take, guys. Okay. I just had, you guys haven't seen the interview, which I appreciate Coach Sucharski's interview that happened earlier yesterday. But we took it and we dove into just the history of the area here, and I think the big thing that I really took away and about this, but before I want to plate that for a second, the winner of this game is going to win the state championship. No doubt about it. I have no doubt in my mind that anybody else is not going to be able to touch either one of these two teams. So the winner of this particular game is going to win the state championship. Going over to the interview with Coach Sucharski, he mentioned something that a lot of folks in this area, especially Jefferson County, he's like, everybody kind of just sleeps on Jefferson County. He says, but you take a look at the teams that have played or that they've had to play this year. Teams like Cape Central, teams like Jackson, in Cardinal Ritter. Folks like that, they're not playing any slouches. They're playing the best of the best, and you may come up short on that, but it's definitely showing, especially the last couple of years here, that Jefferson County football especially is really coming a long way, and they're really, being competitive. So, kudos to Coach Sucharski for pointing that out. They've never made it past this particular point. They've made it to this point couple other times, but have never made it to the state championship. We've never had a Jefferson County state football champion in the county ever. Closest we've had is Herculaneum going twice. And what would it mean to really just put the exclamation point? And I think this particular week, it is absolutely, a prime opportunity to take advantage of.
Right, and I hope the whole county, really, Jefferson County, is kind of pulling for Hillsborough at this point, to represent the county well against an extremely talented Lutheran North team. And gentlemen, if it's okay, I'd just like to take a minute here. Since most of our viewers watching this are from the Jefferson County area, I'd like to familiarize them with what will be a daunting task facing the Crusaders here. They're the number 1 ranked team in the state going against number 5 ranked Hillsborough. I think they're easily the top 3 team in the state of any class. They're averaging over 50 points a game on offense. Their offense alone has 5 different high college prospects on it. Their defense, not as good, at 17.2 points per game. Like you said, that shootout last week with Hannibal, that was insane. Junior quarterback Derek Hollis ran for 5 touchdowns in that game and threw for 2 more. Wow. I'm sorry, Dakari Hollis. 396 total yards in that game. And yes, he already has an offer from Miami of Ohio on the table. He was the Metro League Offensive Player of the Year, 4th in the entire area in passing, and widely regarded as one of the best quarterbacks in the state. Probably the best player, the most talented D1 prospect is their junior receiver, Trey Bass. 2nd in the metro area in receiving after our friend Keenan over at Duberg. Has over 1,000 yards receiving on the year. And he leads the team in total yards with over 1,154 total yards for the Crusaders. You've got sophomore Michael Clark. He's another top receiver. So they don't have just one weapon there in the receiving corps. Both their running backs are awesome. Javon Blackman, I think he's 4th in the area in scoring. Dominant offensive line. Their offensive line goes 305, 290, 260 at center, 270, and 260.
Wow.
So they've got the beef across there. That's pretty good for a high school offensive line right there. Their junior Carvon Jefferson, defensive player in the Metro League this year. He can play outside linebacker. He can play strong safety, which I think is his best position, or he can play running back. He's got several offers in the area. He's got offers from Ball State. He's got offers from Eastern Kentucky. And he's fourth in the area in tackles. So I just want to put that out there for the folks that may not be familiar with this Lutheran North Crusader team. They're very familiar with them in St. Louis City and St. Louis County, but we may not be down here. So want to kind of give the people a little background and see what the Hawks are up against this weekend. But you know what? Hillsborough goes in this game with the attitude of, hey, why not us?
Right.
Why not? And I think that's going to make them loose, relaxed, and I think that should bode well. So I'm looking forward to watching you guys call this game.
Well said, Jeff.
Matt, your final thoughts on the game?
That's essentially that's it in a nutshell. And I think I go back to what I said, that is, if this turns into a shootout, that is not the kind of game that would behoove this Hillsborough team. But again, you're going to have to tighten up the nuts on defense. That, anything like a 3rd and 3, watch the ball, because now it's little things like where that little offside penalty, give them a free first down. You're at the stage of the game now, and yes, whether it was week 1 or week 4, but the freebies are over.
Right.
No free yards, no free penalties, no free touchdowns. You have to lock and load and keep your focus, no matter where Coach Sucharski is going to put you at.
Right. I think the most important part of this game is going to be the little things. You do the little things great, not good, but great.
You're up.
It's gonna keep you competitive, and it's gonna keep you in the game. So, little things is what it's going to come down to.
Very well said.
Let's go to the final game here. I know that we don't really. I keep going over here to this wrong. Okay, here I'm on the right one now. Class 6 semifinals between DeSmet and CBC, and man, I'll tell you what, you've seen
what about
CBC.
Class 5?
Oh, well, yeah, I guess we can do Class 5 as well. Moving over. Class 5, Cape Central, Cardinal Ritter.
Yep.
Go ahead there.
We got to get to big boy football before we get to bigger boy football.
That's right. There you go.
Cape at Cardinal Ritter, I know a lot of people here in the area are familiar with Cardinal Ritter, as we had talked about, Hillsborough facing some of the biggest of the bigs. But, gentlemen, Cardinal Ritter averaging 60 points a game. And that's not just including the playoffs, but in the playoffs, they beat U City 82-0. They beat MICDS 60-24, and Fort Zumwalt North 68-14. Ouch. That's all I gotta say. The winner's gonna face either Webb City, and if you're an old St. Louis Rams fan, you remember defensive lineman Grant Wistrom went down to Webb City, or they're gonna face Republic. But I got to tell you right now, again, it's one of those things that on paper, when you see a team that's averaging in these playoff rounds, and even the deeper you go, and they're still hanging 60 points up, that to me, that's still, and going up on this level just creates butt pucker like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
Matt, it's when I looked at this game, I looked at it as a size versus speed. I see as Cape Central having more size. I see Cardinal Ritter is having more speed, and in this case, speed kills. Speed means power, and Cape Central is going to have their hands full with one of the best quarterbacks in the state, some of the best receiving core in the state, and Cardinal Ritter is who they are for a reason, and we can talk about that reason all day long and debate that reason, but it doesn't matter. What matters is they are one of the best teams, and Cape Central is going to have an uphill battle.
There you go. Class 6 semifinals between DeSmet and CBC, Matt.
Well, this CBC team, I saw them up close and personal down at the pit in Jackson last week, and I got to tell you right now, to kind of piggyback on what Jeff was saying about the Lutheran North offensive line, there isn't a guy on the offensive line for CBC that is under 6'4" and 295. Their left tackle is 6'8", 335, Their left guard is 6'6", 320. Their center's the smallest guy, much like I was back at Herculaneum, but except he's only 6'4", 290 as opposed to 5'9", 215. So when I saw and I think it might have been the speed as well too, but Jackson hung with these guys. They were up at one point 14-10, but when you got a sophomore quarterback making his second start, I thought at home would have been the best place for him on this, and I don't think it got too big for him, at least as far as the moment went for Parsons. But throwing a pick six in the third quarter, and it just started spiraling out of that. He threw, I think, like 4 picks on the evening. So that in and of itself ties back to what we've said about you got to play the clean game. You can't give up the free points because like you saw with Chase Sucharski in the pick six, like you saw with Live for Life on the bad snap from Valley. Those are the makes and breaks that it may not seem like a big thing at the moment. But as I told Brian Kaplinger on Saturday, momentum and points are things that like you put in a bottle and you cherish those things. Momentum is a big thing for you to have during this playoffs. Points are at a premium that you have during this playoff season. And you can't just uncork these things and relinquish them willy-nilly and at the drop of a hat. So it's something like a pick six, something like a blocked punt that goes out of the end zone for a safety. If you're on the other side of the ball, those are the things you've got to tighten up on, and you've got to make sure that you cherish and hold them like that coach thinks you're going to do.
Very well said, Matt. And looking at both of these teams and looking at their season history, but 2 things stuck out for me as points in this game, gentlemen. First of all, I think maybe on paper, DeSmet might have slightly more talent than CBC overall, especially in the skilled position. However, and they are a higher ranked team than CBC. However, with CBC, they've had a schedule that has been kind of tougher, kind of rockier in my opinion. They've been through more adversity. And I think that once you reach the playoff stage, that type of schedule helps you. You know how to win close games. You know how to win ugly games. You know how to come from behind. And I think this is going to be a very close game between 2 very big rivals. And I wouldn't be surprised. I think DeSmet's probably favored, but I think CBC can pull off the upset here. I really do.
Well, they faced earlier in the year, Jeff, and DeSmet beat them 49-14. So that kind of stuck out to me that, right. Once again, and this wasn't like a week 2. This was like week 5, week 6. So a little later in the year to where identities, where are we going as a program, were a little more developed. And so when I saw that score that late in the season and having seen CBC up close and personal, that kind of just gave me an aha moment that, okay, this is going to be like the biggest of the big boy football, and this should be a very interesting matchup.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Well, that wraps up our week 13 of Upon Further Review, and we'll have one last Upon Further Review next week. We'll be over at Texas Roadhouse over in Festus, the great folks over there. That'll be at 11 o'clock next Wednesday for the wrap-up of the semifinals. So for Matt Bates, for Jeff Whitener, for Ray Halbrook, all of us here at Livestream STL and Upon Further Review, we will see you down the road.
Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.